Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Rational Trader Podcast. JD here in Tucson, Arizona, with my good friend Louis Navellier, Rational Trader Podcast co-host. Welcome, Louis, and happy Friday. I always remember something you said to me when we first started the podcast a couple of years ago. Everybody just needs to get happy, and boy, that's such great advice.
Yeah, that's why we had to get rid of most of the uncertainty. Unfortunately, the uncertainty returned with the trade disputes, because Trump has to basically demand something from somebody to get him to do something. So, like when he told Brazil they're going to pay 50% tariffs if they don't free President Bolsonaro, for prosecution.
All right.
I think that probably breaks most of the trade laws, but you know, um, it. I have
Well,
ERJ.
that's a minor detail.
Yeah, I have ERJ. They make the regional jets down there in Brazil, and they got record order backlog. Anyway,
Yeah, how did that? We've talked about that stock previously and Two Sigma. What?
it got hit on Thursday because of the news, and
Okay.
uh, but it's just a reaction, and it's still a little soft now, but they have a record order backlog, and I'm sure everything will be worked out.
Yeah, what's the ticker on that again?
ERJ.
ERJ. Okay.
Yeah, so you have a nice Two Sigma event
Well,
for.
that's what I'm looking at the dashboard in real time here, and yeah, I see it sold off, but it had been rallying so much. I think that selling just brought it down to the mean.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, while I was on my run this morning, Louis, I was thinking about the tariff talk and Trump and taco trades and Taco Tuesday and I you know Trump gave Biden such a hard time for being having dementia. I almost I don't want to criticize Trump because he has been doing really well, but I've said this before and I'm going to stick to it. I think he's bat you know what crazy on this tariff stuff.
Yeah, except that we'll have freer trade when it's all done because they have to drop their barriers or we treat them like they treat us. So the most interesting one was Vietnam because they settle on 20% reciprocal tariff, but all the Chinese subassembly in Vietnam is now 40%. And there's a lot of Chinese subassembly in Mexico too. So that set the precedent for what will be happening. Because China was diverting their stuff through these other countries to try to circumvent our tariffs.
It
Um,
doesn't sound like the folks in Vietnam were all too pleased with the what went down there.
well, too bad, it is what it is. It's
Yeah, and the markets are starting, I mean, are looking through a lot of it. I think it's one of those, honestly, it's to me it's such a complicated issue. You can't really we all know how difficult it is to forecast, Louis. So it's almost silly to talk about. And I think that's what the market's doing is saying, you know what, Trump's going to do what he's going to do, and we have to wait until maybe we can call them the central bank. They're waiting for the data.
well, we do have certainty this week, and the certainty is our new Fed chairman name is Kevin.
The two Kevins.
Kevin Hassert and Kevin Warsh. Yeah, Wall Street Journal had those are the two finalists. So and the I don't know if you've seen the Despicable Me, but one of the minions is named Kevin.
Oh yeah, love Kevin.
Yeah. So
Beto, Beto, Beto.
there you go. There you go. Your ratings on YouTube
I
just
have children.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the minions are pretty funny. So I will.
Oh, that was so well written and produced. I can watch it today. I'm 60 years old now, and
Yeah.
I still But then again, I was always a Beavis and Butthead fan, so that kind
You
of
know,
humor.
you know, what happened to those guys?
I, you know, I heard they were still around. I don't come across them at all, but they're still sitting on their couch watching music videos.
Mm. All right. Well, anyway, I had a friend that used to do the Snicker pretty good. So anyway,
We, boy, we're not going to digress into a Beavis and Butthead imitation,
no,
are we?
no. But it's clearly all about semiconductors still. Your market tries to correct, and Nvidia and supermarket don't want to correct. And next week we got TSM, we got ASML. So we'll see, get a feel. TSM TSM sales were better than expected. They'll announce next week their actual earnings. So we shall see what's going on. But it still looks very positive. Now, China did invent a tank that it puts on a boat. And I don't know why they're showing this off. I don't think they're going to attack Taiwan with these tanks because all you got to do is tip these things and
My daughter leaves on August 20th for Taiwan, so don't say that.
well, I'm glad she's a secret agent representing America. Okay. Or better yet, she could be a double agent getting paid twice, you know?
Hey, we were joking before I hit record about the Barbie movie, and my daughter is quite the Barbie, so we could have Secret Service or CIA Barbie on the trail.
There you go. There you go. Well, it's I'm sure
And I'm
she'll
sorry, Julia, I'm not calling you a Barbie.
I'm sure she'll get some attention. Okay. Are the people in Taiwan short? Is she going to be towering above all of them?
She does, yeah. She's 5'8", so she's got some healthy height to her, and
Good.
that blonde hair. And then when she starts talking Chinese, it's my brain doesn't compute.
Well, just make sure all our papers are in order because they just laid off 1,800 people at the State Department.
Yes, she's actually finishing up that process now before she leaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay.
just want to make sure she can get out of there if she needs to. I told her the first thing she needs to do is, find the embassy.
hmm Well, all I know about Taiwan is, you need a lot of water to make semiconductors, and Taiwan gets over half its water from typhoons.
Oh, the rainwater.
Yeah, so they root for the typhoon to hit the island so they can get enough water. So otherwise, they got to ration it. So I just find that very interesting because in America we don't want the hurricanes and everything to hit. So
That is interesting. Now you mentioning that it's still all about semiconductors, Louis, and I thought this week was actually fairly interesting because the headlines seem to be focusing on, the same stocks powering the market higher, and of course Bitcoin is just on a crazy tear, but there's more breadth beneath the surface
yeah.
than we're getting credit for.
Well, the other semiconductor news is the Defense Department bought that interest in MP materials,
Yes.
and then of course the stock I recommend, IDR, went nuts that day, went up over 20% that day. So because they do rare earth minerals as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I tweeted out, well, it wasn't a tweet, but I sent a little message on Telegram to our audience that IDR may be a takeover play.
there you go. I didn't know you used Telegram.
I do. In For Two Sigma, uh, we were on Discord, and now I'm mostly on Telegram.
Well, this is an interesting story. You know about the founder, right?
Is
He's
he the one that got arrested in France, or?
yeah, yeah, and he has more children than Elon Musk. He's fathered over 100 children. I'm not sure what if he donated to a sperm bank or something, but he had this social media app that and when he was living in Italy, but he was born in Russia, and Russia one bought that app from him. They run it now. And so he went to do it again, and he went to Berlin, London, the Bay Area, San Francisco, and Dubai. And he ended up putting his business in Dubai. When he was in the Bay Area, not only did he get mugged, he fought back to get his phone back, but the FBI visited him and says, you can't be in this business unless you give us a back door. So the whole point of Telegraph is having no secrets, and so basically what happened is um, when he was in France, I guess they arrested him to get a back door. So the French intelligence service now has access to it. But yeah, if you use Telegraph, yeah, you don't be surprised if in the middle of the night you're hogtied and all that kind of stuff. So okay.
I have a big sign on my front door that says no Bitcoin here.
Just makes you a target. Yeah.
Well,
But
I don't want to get held hostage for my wallet code or whatever it was that they did to that. I don't know who he
I
was,
think the guy's still going through the garbage drop, trying to find his hard drive to get his code.
but
Anyway, such is life. But
well, I was what I was saying though, Louis, is that and you've been on fire lately, and I think continue to be. There are wonderful stocks that are going up just beyond the headline stocks.
yeah, no, the market is still very narrow, but a few weeks ago it was all obsessed with quantum computing, and one of the quantum computing stocks, IONQ, had a secondary stock offering, raised over $1 billion. But when those cooled off, then it rotated to semiconductors. Rare earths are doing well because we need them in semiconductors. I don't think we have a magnet company yet, but magnets will be hot. China controls that. But Trump is definitely trying to onshore everything. He wants America to be able to do everything, period. So it starts with
I don't think he was happy, when he threatened China with all the tariffs and then realized that they were, they had us under the gun with rare earths.
yeah, yeah. But in fairness, China took their tariffs off 34 US items that we make and they needed. So, it's we need each other. Just that's how it
Yeah.
is.
But I think, like to your point, though, Trump wants to make it so we don't need them at all, and he would
Yeah,
much prefer that.
yeah, correct.
I I am an unabashed free trader, so I'm biased for sure. I just
You
think
need to move to California because that state outsourced their entire economy. In fact, it's so outsourced. If you go to LA now, it's dead. Okay, it might have something to do with the immigration rates, but it's still dead. Okay.
there was a
I work
documentary
where
I
you
watched
just
before I
outsource.
came down to Tucson here on American Apparel. Have you
Yeah,
seen that?
no.
Um, that's a fascinating story because long before, Made in America became a thing, American Apparel was manufacturing in, you know, downtown Los Angeles.
Hmm.
And boy, they had a hell of a time to figure out how to do it profitably. The bottom line was they couldn't, and they're no longer in existence.
Well, it's hard to compete with Bangladesh and some of these other places. Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Remember
right.
South Carolina used to make socks? It used to be the sock capital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that because I was going to say cotton, but
Yeah, well, they had textile mills in South Carolina. They still may have one or two. I don't know. But the other interesting place, you can go to Italy, and it's a lot. There's things say made in Italy, but the towns are controlled by Chinese. They
hmm.
literally have Chinese living in Italy making made in Italy products. So,
We talked about one of the financial networks. I forget which one. Maybe it's both of them or all of them advertise. I can't remember the guy's name. Whitney Tilson and his
No, I know Whitney. I've done videos with him, and he works for my publisher. He's also running for mayor of New York.
Okay,
I don't think he's in the final runoff, but he did run.
interesting. Well, his shtick is on, is it fusion?
Hmm. Yeah.
Are there any publicly traded companies
Well,
yet in that
yeah,
space, or is it all private?
there's publicly traded companies, but Glenn Youngkin, who's the governor of Virginia, also agreed to allow him to build a small modular reactor and zoned it and everything. The problem is no one has one yet. It's kind of like a quantum computer. No one has one yet. But these are up and coming technologies will come. I assume under Trump will happen faster because, he's just nuclear is one of our solutions right now.
Yes. Well, when you talked about quantum computing, markets like to jump around to the hottest next thing. And, I mentioned Bitcoin, and that is, what do you make of Bitcoin? Do you have any thoughts on Bitcoin at all?
Yeah, Trump just created a second ETF for cryptocurrencies, and they're fixed. I know Bitcoin dominates them. I think one is it's at least 75%, and then there's some other currencies, other cryptocurrencies. I know Paul Aiken, the head of the SEC, in his disclosure document, personally had 6 million in crypto. None of it was Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's kind of like the Cadillac. It's already done its appreciation. But it's all these other cryptos are doing well, but they're creating these ETFs so people can buy them. And the micro strategies and the exchanges are doing very well. But it's here to stay. And the other thing is there's something called a stable coin, which is a crypto that's based on the dollar. And people don't seem too excited about those because they're not appreciating because they're based on the dollar. Okay. So, but yeah, they're here to stay. You go to Venmo.
There was an interesting interview with the CEO of one of the firms forming ETFs with a guaranteed floor.
Mhm.
That's an interesting concept. You know, you, I believe it was guaranteed zero loss now, but you can participate in the upside up to maybe 10%.
Well, they're obviously doing some sort of futures or option straddle on it. The other hot thing they're doing in ETFs now, they're doing single stock ETFs, leveraged. So,
Yeah,
so
with daily expiration options on them.
yeah. So, obviously all these things that are kinky are complicated, and hopefully they can execute them. And but August is coming, and August is famous for flash crashes. We had one
Yes.
in August 15th where the stocks hit circuit breakers and opened the stocks, but allowed the ETFs to open. So most ETFs gapped down 35% or more that day because they couldn't price the stocks. And then by the end of the day, most of the damage was undone. And but if you had a stop order, you would have gotten fleeced at least 35% per ETF.
Louis, Delta Airlines reported earnings yesterday, and I found that report really interesting. And to follow on to your point about August, we do get inflation data next week, but that data is for the month of June, and I think that data actually is going to be very, very positive.
Yeah, it should be good because gas prices were down. Yeah. And also,
Yeah, but I'm worried. It's all lining up. It's like watching a train wreck.
yeah,
You
no, and
see it
China,
coming down the track,
yeah, China's deflation is the worst it's ever been. It's running at 3.6%.
but
So
I do think there's inflation domestically. When I made my reservations on Delta down to Tucson, I left it open-ended because I didn't know exactly what the situation was here and how long I needed to be here. Um, Anyway, I looked for flights home yesterday and I was shocked. Prices were jacked up.
yeah,
I couldn't believe it. They were double what I paid to come down here. And it's,
I know airline pricing very well. So here's how it works.
yes,
The closer you book to the day, the more expensive it's going to be. But it's also
sure.
depends on how fast that plane's filling up. So if your plane that you want to fly tomorrow is only 40% occupied, you'll get a good fare. But if it's 80% occupied, they're going to nail you. So I deal with this with my wife all the time because she's pretty famous for booking things a little late. And so we pay a little more. But I will add that I've had two flights this week. LaGuardia was 7 hour hold. And then I fly into Reno, where I'm in Reno now. And that was 7 hour hold. So I think a lot of it was the thunderstorms.
Hmm.
One was Delta, one was United. I did notice because when I fly west, I can go Delta through Salt Lake, and I did notice Delta was more expensive. But Delta's a well-run airline. I mean, what's messing the airlines up at this moment are thunderstorms. If we just didn't have thunderstorms, we'd be fine. But yeah, the Northeast is a nightmare. But you're flying out of that Minneapolis hub, so hopefully they're
Well,
not.
I'm gonna fly home. Phoenix. I'm flying out of Phoenix, which
Yeah.
is in the summer a relatively inexpensive destination, and the one-way ticket, was less than $100 to get down here, but I'm gonna pay $200 to get back.
Well, welcome to inflation. You can take a train too. Try Amtrak. I guarantee it'll be high.
Maybe I could take an Uber.
No, don't.
I when we flew in on the 4th of July, we were at the airport, and I'm a little hard of hearing, right? So, and my last name is Dlugosch. So we order up the Uber, and standing waiting for the Uber, I'm looking and it tells me the name of the driver, it tells me the type of vehicle and the color of the vehicle, as well as the license plate. And the vehicle and the color pulls in. Guy gets out of the car and he says, Josh. And I'm sitting there going, and he's, of course, broken English. So when he says Josh, I'm thinking he's just having trouble saying Dlugosch. It's the right color, it's the right make of car. But Lynn's with me and she's like, that's the wrong license plate. And the guy grabs our bags, throws it in, and the next thing you know, I'm being kidnapped by the wrong Uber driver.
Mhm.
And 10 minutes later, he's like, are you Josh? And I said, no, I'm not Josh. I said, are you Andre? And he said, no, I'm not Andre. I said, we're in the darn wrong Uber. It was an hour fiasco to figure that out.
Yeah, well, you gotta be careful. Welcome to traveling. Listen to Lynn next time.
Exactly. Well, and to her credit, she's like, that wasn't your fault because you know, he really just hightailed us out of there. He went so fast, and she couldn't
Mhm.
even get it out to say, are we sure this is the right Uber? Anyway.
Anyway, I'm glad you're okay.
Well,
Well, just take a Waymo next time. The Waymos are all over Arizona.
they are. I've saw them, and they are very strange to watch.
No, you need to take those.
I'm not a self-driving guy.
You can have a conversation with the driver. I'm kidding. Okay.
Well, I probably would. I'd talk to myself.
So on the self-driving front, obviously Tesla's trying to get licensed in San Francisco and other cities now. They started in Austin, Texas.
Do you own Tesla, Louis?
No, I don't. We have it for some clients that wanted us to buy it, but that was it. The other thing is uh, Uber's announcing their own service next year in Los Angeles and they're going to be ID Buzz vans. And what's interesting is they had to take all the sensors that are normally in front and put them up on the roof because they've discovered that, in extreme weather, sleet, snow, heavy rain, fog, they're having a hard time with their systems. Okay. And so the ID Buzz that you can buy will have the sensors in the bumper and everything, but the ID Buzz Uber will have the sensors up top.
Okay.
And then what they're doing is they're pre-mapping all the towns. Um, and so the it will take you where it knows where to go. But if obviously want to take it down a dirt road in Tucson, it won't do that.
Sure. There's just something about the self-driving that maybe I'm showing my age now. I'm not going to be a self-driving kind of guy.
Well, in the Midwest, it's I know you guys drive more than everybody else, but you can get fatigued and I have one vehicle with a Super Cruise, GM Super Cruise, and not only does it drive itself, it changes lanes all by itself. So that's
Well, that's how Herb Brooks was a Minnesotan, and unfortunately, he fell asleep driving on the freeway and flipped over his SUV, and that was it.
yep, it's very sad. So I like the self-driving, but I can tell you when you put it on in the mountains, it's pretty scary because it's the mountains. Okay.
And it's a long way down.
Yeah.
Louis, last week I talked about volatility falling, and it's even with the tariffs, the volatility index got below 16 this week, and it may even go lower here as we fade into August.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, we had in the Fed minutes come out that a minority of FOMC members were starting to argue they need to cut soon and follow the economic data versus ignoring the economic data. And Powell, of course, admitted at a European Central Bank conference in Portugal that he would have cut now if it hadn't been for the tariffs. So hopefully the Fed's going to cut on July 28th, but 29th, I'm sorry. But August 1st, when those tariffs are finalized, there's a small chance it could create a correction. But we'll see. I mean, everybody's kind of used to the Trump stick, how he likes to make everybody uncomfortable and negotiate while they're uncomfortable so you can get a better deal. So, Trump's we're more immune to his negotiating tactics. So,
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about the market is that so many of the dollars trading are controlled by computer algorithms, and the computer algorithms cannot interpret Trump's shtick. They can only interpret the headline.
yeah, I'm not an expert in that. All I know is Trump's now in the money management business, and he might want to be careful what he says. There are four
Well,
theme portfolios you can buy through Schwab now.
I mean, just I watched this stuff very closely, and if you looked at the futures, every day this week, pretty much futures were pointing to a lower open, nervous about the tariff stuff.
Hmm.
And that to me was all computer driven.
Hmm.
And then the active manager, the human manager came in and said exactly what you said. This is a shtick and I'm going to ignore it. And guess what? Stocks went to record highs yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. But there's a lot of money wants to come in the market. I mean, the whole world's in recession. The whole world's struggling to grow. They got interest rate collapses around the world. So we're attracting a lot of capital. Domestic stocks are less impacted by all the external things. So it's a very healthy tone to the market. The only problem is the summer months are coming and it gets bumpy. So
Yeah, and that's
try
nothing
to
to
be
be
about
afraid
that.
of. Tell me about, I know you follow more closely than I do the money supply. What's that looking like?
Oh, fine. M2 is wonderful. So it's growing. So as M2 grows, we grow. Simple as that.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really good indicator if anybody is interested in looking for a leading indicator for stocks, that tends to be it. And you're seeing it manifest itself with Bitcoin going to 120,000 here.
Yeah. No, when there's money circulating, it helps. And but yes, cryptocurrencies are very healthy. The president is promoting it. He's creating ETFs for it. It's odd that our president's still in business when he's president. You know what I mean? But you can still buy his watches, even though Switzerland has a 31% tariff. You can still buy his shoes, $500. Maybe that's why they finalize the Vietnam deal. You can still buy his cologne. I think it's $220, and you can invest in them with them.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you're optimistic, and I don't want to call you a permabull, but you are just an optimistic person in
Well,
general.
I live in pro-business states. Okay. So it's hard to be pessimistic when you're in a pro-business state. I
Hmm.
think that. Now there are other states that are dying and have problems, and but I was in San Francisco for about 3 weeks, and I had to work there for a while, and I used to work there, and I was shocked how empty the town was, and I noticed that the only people serving food were bars because I guess all the restaurants went out of business. But even south of Market is starting to firm up and younger people, but they were cleaning up the homeless situation because they had a convention in town. They
Well,
were
I think
evacuating them out of the bus station.
it was last summer that a football player was shot.
Yeah, that was 49er. That was in Union Square. In fact, I went to the Apple store in Union Square and was asking about it. And yeah, he got shot, and he played a few weeks later. So he's a good receiver. And
Ricky Pearsall, I think was his name.
but I'm from California, so I know 18 people have been murdered.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's home invasions, carjackings, um, with kids when they're parties, they would get knifed. Um, but and then I'm not counting the ones. And none of these people have been killed with guns.
I
Uh,
was able to see in Phoenix when we got into town last weekend, had dinner with a college friend of mine who was the friend that I was with when I told you I got shot at the Dairy Queen.
yeah,
So we reminisced about that story. He reminded me that he stood his ground, and I said, "Well, I didn't." He,
I have a client that is moving to Nevada, and she's in San Francisco now, and they had a home invasion. Guns were being shot in the house. Her husband was firing back. She got wounded. He died. I mean, can you just imagine? No
no,
wonder she's moving. And then I had a kid, a good friend, Tim. Tim unfortunately died in the earthquake. Um, he was just wrong place, wrong time under the Nimitz freeway, but I don't think he suffered. But he lived on Twin Peaks, and somebody knocked on his door and had a baseball with a bunch of nails in it and just trashed his place. And he had holes in his head from getting hit with a baseball bat with
oh my
nails.
goodness,
And but the problem out west is drugs, 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 and more drugs. And we unfortunately California paroles are prisoners here in Reno, so we have that problem. And so when I go outside my office building to go to the ATM or even catch an Uber and stuff, I got to be really careful. Because they parole them here. They just do these dumps. And but they all are crystal meth, opiates addicts. So, and of course, Trump wants Canada to cut off fentanyl flows, otherwise they're going to have a 35% tariff, and I'm sure Canada will comply. But Trump just likes to threaten stuff till he gets his way.
yeah, Louis. I guess before we put a stamp on this week's episode, it's earnings season, so we should talk about earnings. I mentioned Delta previously. Their report was fantastic. Um, I think you're going to see a lot of upside to the market on positive earnings results.
We need Jamie Dimon to be upbeat, okay? Because next
He
week's
was negative yesterday, which that's
well,
unfortunate.
hopefully they'll be upbeat next week. And then we got uh, TSM, we've got ASML, so hopefully we'll get some positive news that lifts the semis. But yeah, I don't have anything announcing next week. So, but yeah, there'll be lots of financials, and Fastenal announces next week too.
Yeah, it is. It is financials kick off. It used to be Alcoa that long ago, I guess. They kind of lost their earnings lead off status a while ago.
Well, they're bigger internationally because they have to go where there's cheap electricity to make aluminum. So,
Right, right, right. Are there any stocks that you're particularly interested in these days?
well, we had IDR, of course, soar because of the rare earth mineral news that the U.S. Defense Department was taking an interest in the company and MP but IDR does rare earth as well, so that was the one that took off. It's going to back and fill. I'll be looking to add more when it pulls back. Um,
Yeah, by the way, what I wrote about this, it's out of my bailiwick being a value investor guy, but IDR has all of the elements of a, one of these 2x, 3x, 4x kind of stocks. The ingredients are in place with their underlying business model and valuation is
The,
still
the
attractive.
bottom line is gold is an alternative to weak currencies. Um, but China's going to have to devalue their currency. It's obvious. They can't cut rates anymore. We got interest rate collapses everywhere. UK had very bad economic news. So we got at least three cuts coming from them. Europe's still struggling, although Spain and Portugal are okay, but the rest of Europe is just in this horrific demographic decline. All of
Hmm.
Asia is in a demographic decline. Japan's got the highest birth rate in Asia, but obviously not enough to replace households. So it's just the oasis is America. India's doing okay too.
Are
But
there any companies, my favorite metric in your model, Louis, is margin expansion. I'm just curious if you know off the top of your head any names that come to mind that have really strong margin expansion right now.
well, Nvidia was the biggest because they have the biggest, fattest margins. But yeah, they're still monopoly status. But yeah, margins expenses where we get a lot of earnings surprises. So that's where Sezzle, SEZL has surprised so dramatically. Um, you know, um, these are companies that provide credit to consumers, and once you get the base going, you just need more people, and so their margins naturally expand. So that's a good one. Um, but yeah, I like fat margins as well, so I can have a monopoly. So I want them expanding and I want them fat.
There you go. Okay. Louis, let's put a pin in it. This is JD for the Rational Trader podcast. Thank you, Louis Navellier, as always. We'll be back next week. This week was a relatively quiet economic calendar, but boy, it's going to pick up next week. So we should have lots to talk about. And of course, it's earnings season as well. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you all next week. Take care.